god, Darcy murmurs, then she calls out, Hey! Hey, are you Macy? The girl does not reply but nods and begins to sob. I feel the great weight of the gaze of the monster on the back of my head. It's in the cavern. It can see us. Gaza scrambles up onto the rock ledge above us. He turns around and makes a hurry-up gesture with his hand. Guys, we gotta fucking move. I'm not kidding about here. I can see the monster in the darkness. It's right behind us. What about the girl? I ask him, and watch his eyes dart over to her, then back. He says nothing, but I can see intention in his face, only half illuminated in the torchlight as it is. He means to leave her behind. Perhaps he senses this. We can come back for her, he says. We know where she is, but we gotta go. I've never been a hugely confident or decisive person, but I feel something now, a burst of energy that I can't ignore, and I refuse his will. I toss my torch to Darcy and push past him. I need no deliberation here. Angela? Angela! He shouts, but I ignore him. I sprint across the surface of this wider, rocky ledge to the opposite side of the cavern. Macy's own outcrop hangs just a little lower. It provides an excellent view of the cavern below, or at least it would if there was a little more light. And a slow, steady leak in the rock above fills a little pool to the girl's side. Perhaps this is why she chose such a location to rest. I scramble down onto my hands and knees and reach out a hand. Come on! I shout. Grab my hand, let's get you out of here! Then a little quieter. It's okay. We can help you. For a moment, the girl does not move. She only stares at me, as if she's actually too afraid to trust that someone has actually come for her. I'm about to hop down onto the ledge myself and help her to her feet, when the rising hiss through the darkness bids her stir. She reaches up a shaking hand and I grab her wrist. It's so thin. A shadow moves in the darkness below us, great and oily. The wild and wavering beams of the remaining flashlights allow us a fleeting glimpse of slick, sparkling shell and scale. I grimace and haul Macy up onto the platform. JC races across as I do, and helps Macy to her feet. She squints and slams shut her eyes as the beam of Darcy's flashlight passes across her face. Her legs shake. Come on, I'll carry you, Jamie says, lifting her up onto his back, and away we run, across the ledge, meeting up with Darcy halfway across the platform, and with Gaza still at the far end. Fucking move! He bellows, and to my horror, I catch a glimpse of an enormous creature slithering its way up the cavern wall, climbing and clambering towards us. With Darcy and Gaza at the front with the torches, we race through this new level of the cavern, round columns of spiraling stone, along natural pathways, and between great, still black underground lakes. At least, I think they're lakes. They're so motionless down here in the depths, so undisturbed, that I cannot tell if they are indeed the illusions I now expect them to be, or are actually the great holes to the rocky world below that they're pretending to be. Either way, it matters little to us in our current state. Gaza and Darcy are trying to lead us vaguely upwards, but they don't know where to go. None of us do. So we just run, onward through the solemn stone of the secret landscape. Gaza eventually drops to his knees and starts to crawl through a tiny arc in the rock. Darcy, after the rapid inspection of the area, follows. Jamie sets Macy down and she gets the picture, crawling after them. Jamie and I do likewise, and it's not until we're through to the other side, in a smallish room of smooth, curved stone, that we feel safe enough to just stop for a minute and rest. That terrible hissing, mercifully, has disappeared. For now. As we get back our breaths, an uncomfortable tension hangs in the air. You meant to leave Macy behind, I want to say to Gaza. It's true, he wanted to leave her where she was. I know that Darcy at least feels the same way. I can feel her beside me, but neither of us say anything. There's a time and place for such a discussion, and right now is neither. I hear Macy sniff in the darkness. Does anyone have anything to eat? She asks softly, but we are forced to reply apologetically that we do not. My own stomach rumbles, reminded for the first time today how hungry I am. Macy, I realize, must feel 10 times worse. So what happened to you, Macy? Darcy asks eventually, as her eyes begin to adjust to the dark a little. Only a little, mind you. I can only see the very, very rough edges of my comrades' silhouettes, and even then, only when I'm looking directly at them. How did you get lost down here? It was stupid, she says at once. I shouldn't have come down, I really shouldn't. I often sneak in, I don't live so far away, but this time I don't know, I went a little deeper? I was curious. My phone jumped from 11% to 0, and I panicked. I started trying to retrace my steps in the darkness, and then I thought I saw some light at the edge of the cavern. I thought it was the lamps, the ones around the trails. But the light never got any brighter. I followed it deeper and deeper, and then it just went out. I know I was more lost than when I started, so I found a place to sit and to wait. But no one ever came. Until now, whispers Darcy. I hear shuffling and wonder if perhaps she has moved to squeeze Macy's hand. Did you have to crawl through any tunnels? Gaza asks after a beat. What? No, that sounds awful, Macy replies. Good, so there's definitely another way out then, the boy murmurs, and it's a valid point to be fair. Did you see anyone go past you, Macy? A woman, perhaps? Asks Jamie. No, the girl replies. You guys are the first people I've seen in... I don't know, actually. I don't know how long I've been down here. Another pause. The monster is real, isn't it? That's why we were running just now. Have you seen it before? I ask her. In my dreams. At least I think they were dreams. It became really hard to tell what were dreams and was real. After a while, I saw it watching me, peering over the edges of the rock. I always saw it so clearly. And then, when I was awake, it just disappeared. I could never keep hold of it. She trails off. Then, it spoke to me sometimes. She says quietly. I felt a chill pass over me. What did it say? Darcy whispers. It asked me what I would do if I ever made it back to the surface. It asked me about my life. She sniffs. It asked if I wanted to die alone down here in the dark. She starts whimpering and her voice catches in her throat. We sit there in relative silence for a little while longer, but there's no sign of suggestion of the creature, and even if there was, there's no way it could make it through that tiny arch, surely not this time. But that is little comfort. Gaza clicks on his torch and we squint and shield our eyes in response. One by one we all adjust back to the light, and wordlessly we rise to her feet. Macy is shaky, but she can stand, and indicates her desire to walk beside us. There's only one route available to us now, another corridor of stone. Though this one is a little wider, we can walk two abreast if we so choose. We follow it, trying the radios again at various intervals. I click through all the channels just in case. But there's nothing. Nothing but silence and the occasional cracking static. Do you guys not know the way out? Macy asks anxiously, but no one responds. She doesn't ask again. We walk for 10 to 15 minutes, perhaps a little more, until the passage once again widens out. I'm doing my best to keep our bearings, but my thought process is interrupted and my jaw drops low. Holy, someone mutters, and I don't blame them. The walls in here are covered, and I mean covered in paintings. They look ancient to me. Cave drawings and the like. Aboriginal symbols and shapes. It's simply spectacular. There's no other word for it. What the hell are these paintings doing here so deep in the cave? Why would anyone come here willingly? Gaza asks. He looks all around, and I do likewise. In the center of this cavern, a series of low and smallish rocks have been arranged in a circle, with one slightly larger, taller rock in the exact center. The pillar is surrounded by a ring of still, black water. This is insane, Jamie murmurs. Look at all this. The paintings on the wall are largely in shades of yellow and white, but upon close inspection is amongst the shapes and symbols. Some of them have been painted in blue and in red. The colors have faded over the years, but the differences are still discernible. I step closer to one of the walls and look up at the great depicted scene. It shows several figures in various poses, surrounding a creature, some prehistoric-looking lizard. The lizard appears to be eyeless and snarls angrily at the people surrounding it. Another scene, a little to the right, shows another of these creatures, bearing down on a helpless figure as its fellows run the opposite way. I guess there's no gems then, I hear Gaza mutter somewhere behind me. No, Mabam Courage. If there were, then this would be the place to find them. I exchange a glance with Darcy, but we say nothing. I don't particularly like these paintings. Upon reflection, they unsettle me very deeply. Guys, says Darcy, and the fear in her voice has us all turned to her as one. We step closer and look up to the walls that she's pointing us towards. The great rock is covered in intricate line work, painted figures with their hands on their heads, some bent over in prayer, some caught in the thralls of some kind of dance, or madness perhaps. It's not clear. And amongst them is an enormous animal, reptilian and colossal. I have to lift my gaze to take it in its entirety. The creature has been drawn without eyes, and with a mouth of twisted teeth that draws far back into its head, far further than any creature I've ever seen. And as I step back to get a better look, I realize that the edges of the creature have been drawn in such a way to mix, to merge with the landscape in which it's been drawn. It's difficult, near impossible, in fact, to see where the lizard ends and the painted rocks and pillars and stalactites around it begin. They are one and the same. The colors blend and the lines flow in, and the lines flow into and out of each other. What the hell is this place? Jamie says quietly, and then a noise causes all of us to jump in alarm. Gaza cries out in panic and swears, and someone lets out a shriek. Could be Darcy, could be Macy. My radio has begun to crackle. A distorted voice comes screaming through the receiver. I fumble with the device and lift it from my belt, holding it out at arm's length as if it might suddenly strike. My heart pounds as we stare at the thing, listening to the warbled cries of terror from beyond. I would never, comes through the crackling. My eyes go wide and I stare at the others. It's Margaret. I wouldn't, don't let them, about me. The radio keeps cutting out. Please. And then her voice is lost to screams. There's another noise there too, something low and wet. The radio crackles and cuts out. Silence. Movement catches my eye. I turn to look at the little pillar in the center of the circle of stones. My movements feel heavy all of a sudden, as if the strength of the gravity of the cavern has somehow increased. I look at the little ring of black water, no longer still. I don't fail to notice, it shimmers and ripples subtly as minuscule little waves are sent around and around and around. And before we know it, the ground has begun to shake.